just saying you also knew that he was recording from the cameras he had on his body. I think you said, chest, was the last word you said.
That is correct. He had a GoPro camera on his chest, and I see this times out every 5 minutes, so I'll try to be quick. He had a GoPro camera on his chest, he had a handheld digital camera that he was taking photos of, and a cell phone as well, besides the camera on the tripod. And once I was close enough I could tell that he also had glasses, cameras in his glasses, kind of like a camera attached to his glasses as well. So multiple cameras, and I assumed they were all filming.
Alright. Have you ever seen that many devices and that combination on any kind of legitimate media person when you've interacted with them?
No, my lord. Normally the mainstream media, or even independent media, comes with one camera on a tripod, and it's usually a, if you want to call it, a higher-end camera, bigger. And like I said, we have media coming all of the time to take stock photos of our detachment front, sometimes even the police cars. But we always ask them that they don't include or they don't film anywhere near civilian vehicles or private vehicles, and they're always good with that. They usually sit out front of the detachment, not the back. I've never seen any media person near the back door where Dan was.
Alright. Dan is arrested. Is he taken into the detachment?
Yes. And I think it was approximately 14:55, approximately. He was arrested for obstruction, and as I've indicated, my lord, he turned around and put his hands behind his back. I told him he wouldn't be handcuffed because we were more than capable of dealing with anything if he got physical, and he had been at least cordial verbally at that point in time. So handcuffs weren't required. And then Corporal Jones and Sergeant Pask took him down to the detachment cell block after I took the camera off his chest. I remained upstairs up in the back parking lot to speak to the other male, and then I would head down to the cell block afterwards.
And did you then have a further conversation with Dan inside the detachment?
That's correct, my lord. In the cell block I spoke with Dan while we were trying to identify him. He indicated that he was feeling dehydrated. I gave him some water. I spoke to him at length while we were trying to identify who he was, and he eventually identified himself to another constable. I'm not sure who it was specifically, but it wasn't me that he identified himself to.
Did he also inform you about what, at least in part, what his intentions were vis-a-vis the videos he had taken?
Again, he spoke at length about his rights, about the issues he's had with other police officers, but nothing specific with me as to who he was. Until after I found out who his identity really was through the other members.
Right. Okay. So after though did he inform you about what he planned to do with the videos as it relates to YouTube?
He indicated that, yes, he was going to upload them onto his video blog, I believe, onto YouTube. That was his intention.
And did you ask him how you might view those videos for the URL or the address about how to do that?
Yes, I did ask him to provide the URL and or a contact, and he would not give that information to me as to how the could-be videos were observed, uploaded. So that way I could not see where he was actually uploading to, what media outlet, or whatever he actually was affiliated to. He would not provide me the URL when he was asked.
Okay. So he claimed to be local independent media, but he refused to share with you how he was going to present these videos presumably to the public?
5 minutes.
It appears to be every 4 minutes and 10 seconds, Your Honor.
I'm just about done, Your Honor, with the corporal.
But Dan may have a few questions.
Yes, no, I'm just letting you know. I'm happy to call at that point if that's what you want.
Dan, we're going to take a break. When we're done in direct and I'll ask Crown to call to find I've never had this happen before, that I've ever seen. So it's going to be very difficult for you to effectively cross-examine if we have to do this every 4 minutes and 10 seconds. So, officer, we're going to finish your evidence in chief, and then before. What does that logo mean?
It's probably telling us to hurry up.
Before we start cross-examination, we'll maybe stand down for a second and see if we can figure out what's going wrong.
Okay. Yes, my lord.
Thanks.
So just a couple of final questions, Corporal. I was just asking you, Dan had claimed to be local independent media, but he refused to share with you where these videos were going to be presented. Is that right?
That is correct, my lord. Other than YouTube, that was the only indication I got.
The identity of the second male, was that later determined to be Dean Bruce?
That is correct, my lord. I did not learn that. It was, I believe, one of the other corporals figured that out from a bulletin that had actually been circulated that they located after the fact while we were down in cells. And it was from a different detachment. I believe it was North Cowichan indicating there were suspicious males videotaping that detachment as well, and they meant to take photos of the males. At that point in time, I realized it was Dan and the other individual that was with him, and somehow in that process, the other gentleman's name was surfaced as well.
All right. So that's information you came to be aware of after the arrest and dealing with Dan, is that right?
That is correct. And, my lord, also just, when I did speak to the second male, that second male was not videotaping any of the secure areas. He wasn't videotaping any of our vehicles or back exit. He was only videotaping the sidewalk area which, because of where he was, he could not see, or the camera did not record any of the secure areas or license plates specifically. So I allowed him to proceed because he was literally just videotaping the sidewalk where Dan and the police officers, including myself, were interacting. And that was, all of the other secure stuff was blocked by a building, so my concerns with him were not the same as they were with Dan. He only had one camera where Dan had multiple cameras.
All right. 2 more questions, Corporal. Subsequent to dealing with Dan on July 25th, 2018, did Dan then layer private information against you?
Yes, that is correct, my lord. After that, I went off shift after writing the basics of my report. When I came back on shift, I had learned that, I think it was 2 days later, Dan had attended Colwood Courthouse and laid the private information against me for, I believe it was criminal harassment and extortion and one other offense specific to that event. Because as I indicated prior to that event, I had never seen or heard of Dan, although he indicated criminal harassment and extortion in relation to the cameras in our interactions. So yes, he did swear private information against me.
And did that proceed in any fashion?
Well, my lord, for full transparency, I stepped back from the investigation and Sergeant Pask took it over. And yes, an independent Crown did pick up that investigation, and RCC was created, I believe, or written, and I was notified subsequently after the fact downstream that it did not meet charge approval. His allegation.
And?
The standard for charge approval.
And are you also being sued civilly by Dan?
Yes, my lord. Dan has also launched a civil action against me for $10,000 punitive damage for, again, what happened in our back parking lot, even though he was arrested and Crown approved the charge. In my opinion, I believe it's basically just an attempt to intimidate me.
All right. Thank you, Corporal Kundu-Thomsen. We're going to take a brief break and then see if we can't sort out this technical problem before we go into cross-examination, okay?
Thank you, my lord. I will just remain here.
Thank you very much.
Everything seems to be stable on this end.
That would be great.
Recalling the matter of Dan, Your Honor.
Just a couple more questions, Your Honor, about this notice and
Sure.
I'll be done. Corporal Thompson, you have a copy of the front and back of that notice, or you've seen that now, have you?
I have seen a copy of the back of the notice now electronically, yes.
Okay. And on the front of that notice, does it have your initials, badge number, date and time, as well as seized from Constable Jones?
That is correct, my lord.
And did you write that, like that's something that you wrote on there, is that right?
Yeah. That is after the fact. That's why it says 15:30 hours. So that would have been 3:30 after. That would have been down in cells that I wrote that.
Okay, and then on the back you've written, 15:20 in cells got name from C13, is that from the booking sheet and the prisoner report?
That is correct, my lord. The C13 is the prisoner report, which would have been the booking sheet. So after Dan identified himself to the constable that was processing him, that constable would enter in onto a booking platform, and I believe I was looking over his shoulder, and that's when I saw the name.
Okay, and then you wrote down his name, an address from Victoria, and would not provide his cell number. That's all you're writing, is it?
That is, yeah.
Okay.
That is correct. So what would have happened there, my lord, is the constable that booked him and would have asked him for a cell number, and if they don't provide one, that's what would be indicated on the prisoner sheet.
All right. But again, this is all information you gathered after the arrest and after the booking in and?
That is correct, my lord. That's why it says 15:30 on the front side, because that's when I initialed it, assuming it was going to become a piece of evidence, and post the rest in the cell block.
All right. Exhibit B, please.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Exhibit B, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you, Corporal. I don't have any further questions. Please answer any questions that Dan has.
Yes.
Is it possible to turn up the volume on Corporal Kundu-Thomsen?
I think it's as loud as it will go, Your Honor.
Okay, fair enough. Okay to start, Your Honor?
No, because he's not here.
I spoke too soon.
All right. Dan.
Yes, Your Honor. If I may, as a courtesy to the court, I just want to let you know that Corporal Kundu-Thomsen is the arresting officer. The other two, I believe Crown is going to call another 2 police officers. Those other two police officers have very little to offer as far as cross-examination goes. However, Corporal Kundu-Thomsen, being the arresting officer, has considerable amount of questions for cross-examine. I just want to let you know, this will be somewhat lengthy. The other two police officers will not be lengthy.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. Corporal Kundu-Thomsen, you have you have some amazing credentials as a police officer in Canada. Would you agree with me?
I am a corporal in the RCMP. I don't know. I don't rate my credentials compared to anyone else, my lord.
Okay, but you have a master's in terrorism and security studies. Is that right?
That is correct, my lord.
And you are also a global security and intelligence specialist, correct?
My lord, I am the of an intelligence unit right now here in Cornwall.
But that's part of your credentials as a global security and intelligence specialist.
That is part of what I studied in my master's program, my lord.
And you're a member of the TSAS?
That is correct. That is a civilian terrorism analyst group led by Dr. Lauren Dawson, who is a specialist in the field of security.
Thank you.
It's just an affiliation to that group because I read their newsletters. So I have to be a part of that group to read their newsletter.
Thank you. So would you agree with me that you're a terrorism expert?
I would not call myself an expert in anything. I'm not a subject matter expert in anything, my lord. I haven't been qualified or written or accepted as that by anyone. This is just something that I studied. I'm a specialist. You can call it that, but that's not an expert. The two things are separate.
So your master's of terrorism and security studies does not make you an expert in terrorism? Is that what you're saying?
Expert is a designation, my lord, that the courts have to recognize. I am not an expert, my lord. I am an intelligence specialist. I specialize in intelligence, and I have a master's in terrorism and security studies.
Okay. So, with your training and knowledge of terrorism and security studies, do you happen to know, has there ever been a terrorism attack attempt on Vancouver Island?
I'm not sure he would answer that even if it may be known.
I don't know if Dan is aware of the Victoria, Canada Day bombing attempt.
Yes, I am aware of it.
However, I'm not sure how this relates to this investigation.
Yes, I am aware of it.
So the short answer is yes.
I am aware of that one. That's the one where the appeal courts ruled that was RCMP manufactured terrorism, correct?
I am not in a position to speak to that, my lord.
You're aware of the...
But to answer.
You're aware of the BC Court of Appeal ruling on that matter?
We're wandering a bit afield here. Can you try to get refocused here?
I am aware of the rulings on that matter, my lord. But to answer
It's all right. Don't answer the question.
gentleman's question.
It's all right. That's a legal question for me.
I apologize, Your Honor.
That's all right.
And in your credentials, you're effective with dealing with issues and problem solving of peers, partnering agencies, and the public, correct?
My lord, that's...
Thank you. And in your credentials... Oh, sorry.
Sorry. To finish that question.
Yes.
My lord, is those characteristics that Dan has indicated are pretty well the credentials of every police officer dealing with issues like that.
And in your credentials, you say that you are, quote, active duty, boots on the ground, law enforcement proven, unquote, correct?
That is correct, my lord. I was active duty, boots on the ground.
And in your credentials, you say that you are a, quote, manager of people, resources, and dedicated to service and public safety in high stakes, high risk industry, unquote. Is that right?
That is correct, my lord. I believe Dan is letting me know that he's done research on me online.
And in your credentials, you state that you do, quote, intelligence-led policing, unquote. Is that right?
That is part of the RCMP's mandate, my lord.
And in your credentials, you state that you're a, quote, major crime investigator / supervisor and plainclothes specialist, unquote. Is that true?
My lord, I was a plainclothes major crime, if you want to call it, NCO, non-commissioned officer, for several years, and also in plainclothes units, yes.
And according to your credentials, you have over, quote, 25 years of solid experience in complex and major criminal investigations, national security, overt and covert, unquote. You're also a, quote, RCMP non-commissioned officer and a supervisor and a leader, unquote. Do I have that right?
That is correct, my lord. I have 26.5 years service in the RCMP.
And according to your credentials, you're also a, quote, organized crime and gang specialist, unquote. Is that right too?
That is correct, my lord. I worked several years for the Combined Forces Unit, and their mandate is organized crime. And the mandate of the unit that I am in right now is also organized crime.
And according to your credentials, you're also a, quote, extensive RCMP training, unquote. You have, quote, extensive RCMP training in law enforcement and criminal investigation, unquote. Is that true?
That is correct, my lord. As I stated, I have 26.5 years service and have gone through several RCMP training courses in those areas.
And according to your credentials, you are a, quote, real-time decision maker in high-risk matters, unquote. Do I have that right?
That is correct, my lord. Especially when I was a watch commander, everything was high risk in real time.
And according to your credentials, you are a, quote, subject matter expert in policing competencies, unquote. Is that right?
That is correct. I do have that designation for functional competencies for the promotional program in the RCMP, not in court. But that's for the promotional program. I'm an SME at that matter.
Thank you. And would you agree with me that you are an asset to the RCMP?
That's not a determination that I make. That would have to come from somebody outside. I can't self-designate myself.
So would you agree with me that when you're acting in your official capacity as a police officer, you know what you're doing, right?
My lord, I am aware of my duties as a police officer.
And you didn't rise to the rank of corporal in the RCMP by making mistakes. Would you agree with me?
My lord, there is promotional process underway in running for the RCMP, and of course mistakes would not advance you.
Thank you. Now you stated earlier that I had a camera in my sunglasses or eyeglasses. Do you recall saying that earlier?
It's what I believe to be a camera in your glasses or a head-mounted camera, if you want to call it that.
Okay. So it might not have been eyeglasses. Is that what you're saying?
I'm not a tech specialist, but it was a head-mounted camera, I believe.
Okay. You are back? Now, Corporal Kundu-Thomsen, were there any sunglasses or eyeglasses with cameras in them seized?
My lord, something was seized. A head-mounted camera was seized. Everything that was seized by Corporal Jones or Sergeant Pask, one of the other members who took him down to cell blocks.
So if I have that right, you didn't seize any devices?
I took the camera off of you, but as far as formally seizing them, one of the other members I believe seized everything, all of your effects. That would have been one of the other members down in the cell block. Dan.
So you personally did not seize 4 cameras and a cell phone, is that correct?
The cameras were seized collectively, if you want, for the investigation. As to what I specifically seized, my lord, I don't remember exactly which object I specifically seized. I did take them off his person, and then I handed them all to the constable downstairs or the corporal downstairs who was processing him for his affects. His affects would have all been seized, and then the cameras were seized as evidence, and I did submit a 5.2, so, in essence, yes. Since I submitted the 5.2 for all of the affects that were taken from him, yes, I did seize all of his affects.
You seized a Sony camera on a tripod from the sidewalk, correct?
I seized the camera and the tripod. I gave you the tripod back, and the camera did go into the overall items that were seized. So if you wish to be, for semantics, yes, I took control of them and seized them and handed them over to someone.
I'm only asking because you said you didn't seize any of the devices. So you also seized a chest camera. You personally took it off my body, correct?
That's correct.
And you personally used 2 hands to pull a cell phone out of my hand. You seized that, correct?
Yes, if you wish to call it seized. Yes, I did seize all of those items from you, for lack of a better term, your lordship, since I submitted the 5.2, and I took custody of the items from his person, for all intents and purposes, yes, they were seized by the police from him.
And in your statements...
By myself, if you wish to say that.
And in your statements, you state that in cells, you seized a small camera off my baseball cap, correct?
It was a head-mounted camera, to the best of my recollection now.
Okay. So you did seize 4 cameras and a cell phone, is that right?
My lord, I did submit the 5.2. They were all issued on there. So technically, yes, they were seized by myself.
And that was by physically seizing them with your own personal hands, correct?
Yes, my lord.
Thank you.
I took the camera off his chest because it was recording, and I did take, I believe, it was a camera from his hand or a phone, one of those items from his hands as well. And I did not physically rip them out of his hand. I basically removed the camera from his chest and I asked him for the camera in his hand.
And you mentioned earlier that I didn't have a press card, correct?
My lord, he would not provide any information or any identification. He indicated he had none on him.
And where would one obtain a press card?
I do not know, my lord. That's not my area of expertise.
And you also mentioned earlier that you could have asked me to delete some footage. Do you remember saying that just earlier?
I do recall saying that if, in the past, my lord, with mainstream media when they do videotape an area that they shouldn't be, specifically civilian vehicles, license plates, I've asked other media if they could ensure that they delete that footage. So I did say that.
And do you have lawful authority to demand anyone to delete footage off of a camera in your presence?
I do not have that lawful authority. As I indicated, my lord, I've asked previous media that have been at our detachments just to be alive to it, and if...
All right. Well, that's a good time for the afternoon break.
Thank you, Your Honor.
We'll see you back at 2 o'clock.
Thank you, Your Honor. So as we're now taking the afternoon break, there's some discussion going on between the court clerk and myself and Mr. Barber about how we're going to continue this matter. And it's at this time that Mr. Barber starts getting in these passive-aggressive sort of arguments with me in the courtroom. And he basically challenged me to a fight. And I thought, this is scary as hell, because he made sure there's an order that recording not take place in the courtroom. And now I know why. So now that the audio recorder for the courtroom has been turned off and nothing's being recorded, nothing's on the record, I decided to switch on a device just as I'm leaving the courtroom. So as I'm gathering up all my things and Mr. Barber's still trying to egg me onto a fight, I'm trying to ignore him. I'm trying to make it obvious to him that I'm trying to ignore him, and he keeps persisting. So as I've gathered up my stuff, I'm now walking out of the courtroom, and as I'm walking out of the courtroom, I flicked on a recording device. And this is what I recorded. This is the audio that I recorded. This is the actual audio that I recorded as I'm walking out of that courtroom and trying to exit the building. And my independent witness was sitting there listening to Mr. Barber. And one of the sheriffs that was in the courtroom that heard Mr. Barber, he knew that Mr. Barber was waiting outside of the courtroom. So he decided to basically escort myself and the independent witness out of the building. He obviously had some safety concerns for us because he was literally a foot behind us as we're walking out. He was literally, like, if we would have stopped walking, he would have bumped into the back of us. So keep in mind, what you're about to hear was also heard by an independent witness and a sheriff. Here goes.
Lock her up. It's like calling me out. Yes. Oh, it's around there somewhere. I know. Oh, yeah. You don't need to be afraid just because people have teeth on and stuff, you know? What's that? Goodbye. It means you're talking. No, but you don't want to listen. You want to learn. No, I don't want to listen. Goodbye. Maybe I'll follow you home. Excuse me? Maybe I'll follow you home. Like you follow the police everywhere. Follow me home. Like you follow the police to their home. Can I? Can we get the police? No. Come on, it's this. Come on. Come on. Bye. Did you guys hear the prosecutor just say he's going to follow me home? You heard him say he's going to follow me home, right? Why is the prosecutor going to follow me home? He didn't say he was going to follow me. He said, I might. No, I should just follow you. I should just follow you home. That's what he said. Okay. Thank you. Imagine if I said that to somebody. I would be in handcuffs instantly. You heard him say that. I heard it. For what though? For what though? This is a criminal proceeding. I know. Grab a dollar coffee. Yeah. Gonna huh? Holy cow. So Nicholas Barber just threatened me. He just threatened me.
What did he do?
He said he's going to follow me home.
follow you home?
Yep. He said he's gonna follow me home.
That's weird.
Yep.
Really weird.
I got 2 witnesses, sheriff and an independent person said they heard Nicholas Barber say he's gonna follow me home.
Said it in front of the cop and me.
Yep.
That was really strange.
Imagine if I said
Maybe
that
I'll just-
to anybody that works
The
here.
quote, he said, maybe I'll just follow you home. What did he say that for? In what context?
I don't know.
He said,
I don't
just
know.
like you
I don't know.
follow, turn your cameras on.
Obviously, he wants confrontation.
He's-
Obviously, he's trying to stir the pot
You really
and
think they would-
cause a confrontation where none exists.
Drop charges if you were to fight? When has the government ever done that? When has the government ever done that?
Hey, good one.
No kidding, man. I wish I could stay, but
Well, at least you got at least you got to hear the prosecutor threaten me.
that is bizarre.
I wonder if you can do a conduct complaint against Crown Counsel. You willing to be a witness in the threats?
Oh, absolutely. That was weird. My battery's down low.
Have you ever seen anyone, an officer of the court, act so unprofessional? Yeah, he starts ripping on me about, oh, you're not being nice, and if you would just listen. I was
This whole thing would go away if we were just nice.
yeah, and I'm telling him, like, don't talk to me. Like, I'm trying to ignore you. Like,
When
go
has
away.
the government ever dropped charges because the accused was nice?
He's like, oh, you don't have to be afraid of people in suits.
Yeah. Especially when you're in court because you've been charged for operating cameras
I know.
on
I've only been the Crown's hostage for 2 years now. Talk about being nice. So let's get out of here, and hopefully Mr. Barber will calm down and act professional. As I predicted he wouldn't. Thanks, bud. Yeah. I'm gonna just get out of here before he starts a fight. So the judge leaves and he starts beaking me off in the courtroom. And I'm just like, yeah, well, I don't want to hear what you have to say. I'm just going to ignore you. And he goes, well, I have the right to stand here and talk to you. And I said, and I have the right to ignore you. Yeah.
Hey everyone, thanks for watching my most important video ever. There's a lot more to come. It's far from over. What you just witnessed was a prosecutor committing a serious criminal offence in Canada under Section 139, subsection 2 of the Criminal Code of Canada is obstructing justice. Intimidating a justice participant would fall under obstruction of justice. I know all about intimidating a justice participant because I was falsely arrested and charged with it in 2016, so it's no mystery to me. Yeah, that's definitely intimidating a justice participant. And so the trial continues. So I guess we got to have a little talk about this now, don't we? Mr. Barber threatening to follow a unrepresented accused person home. Let me just say this, that I have never, ever followed the police, and I have never, ever followed the police to their homes. Never, or home. Never. Now, I've never done this before, but I'm asking for your help. No, there's no PayPal button involved. I don't even have one. I've never asked for money, but what I need is your help in this being seen by a wider audience. The average views for these videos now is a little over 1,000. Now, I don't care about likes, subs. I really don't even care about views, but considering what I'm exposing, considering that, any smart aleck can make an entertaining video on a sidewalk and get 5 times the views in half the time, something's wrong here. So if you want to help, I need you to contact your favorite big channel and ask them to highlight this. This needs to be seen by a wider audience. I don't need money. I don't need likes or subs. I need a wider audience. That's it. That's all I need. YouTube has almost completely hidden this channel now. If you search West Shore RCMP, or even documenting and exposing West Shore RCMP, My videos, my channel, doesn't even come up in the search. So if you've ever wanted to help this channel, this is your opportunity to help me with the one and only thing you can help me with. And obviously, if you have a channel, feel free to highlight it on your channel. Big channel, small channel, I would sincerely appreciate it. You know, they put me through a criminal prosecution for almost 2 years, and I did everything by myself. I never even asked for help. That wasn't easy. That seriously affected my personal life, and still does to this day. No less today than the day of my arrest, in fact. So if you can help, thank you. I sincerely appreciate it. Now, if you have found the following video disturbing, I have compiled the following appropriate contacts. I want to say that I don't need you to do this, and I'm not asking you to do this. So if you do this, you're doing it on your own because you want to, not because I asked you to. If you choose to do this, please be calm and respectful in your communications. If you cannot be calm and respectful, please hold off communicating and give it some time until you feel you can be calm and respectful. If you choose to communicate with the contacts below, you should know that I did try to contact Nicholas Barber's supervisor about making a conduct complaint. So how did they handle that? Well, have you ever heard me say it gets worse? So if you'd like to make some sort of complaint about Prosecutor Nicholas Barber threatening to follow me home, let's start with the Law Society of British Columbia. And actually, let's start with the Legal Profession Act. Now, in British Columbia, acts are British Columbia laws. They're not policies. They are laws. So I dig up some interesting info for you. Have a look. So Part 3 is protection of the public. And it starts off with complaints from the public. 26, subsection 1. A person who believes that a lawyer, former lawyer, or articled student has practiced law incompetently or been guilty of professional misconduct, conduct unbecoming the profession, or a breach of this act or the rules, may make a complaint to the society. So are you a person? Do you believe that a lawyer has been guilty of professional misconduct or conduct unbecoming the profession? If so, you may make a complaint to the society. And here's some more info from the Law Society's website themselves. This is the Code of Professional Conduct for British Columbia. And here's a little interesting bit about integrity that I dug up for you here. You can see in the lower portion there, number 2, it says, public confidence in the administration of justice and in the legal profession may be eroded by a lawyer's irresponsible conduct. Accordingly, a lawyer's conduct should reflect favorably on the legal profession, inspire the confidence, respect, and trust of the clients and of the community, and avoid even the appearance of impropriety. And here's another interesting little bit that I dug up for you. It's called duty as prosecutor. Now, I'm not even going to start to get into the disclosure fiasco, but it's interesting. It says here, duty as prosecutor. When acting as a prosecutor, a lawyer must act for the public, that's you, and the administration of justice, resolutely and honorably within the limits of the law, while treating the tribunal with candor, fairness, courtesy, and respect. And in the commentary, I found this interesting. It's the second sentence in there. It says, the prosecutor exercises a public function involving much discretion and power, and must act fairly and dispassionately. Following an accused person, then threatening to follow them home. Acting like a predator against an accused person. Yikes. And here's another little interesting bit that I dug up for you. It's courtesy. A lawyer must be courteous and civil and act in good faith to the tribunal and all persons whom the lawyer has dealings. Hello. And I just love the commentary on this. It says, legal contempt of court and the professional obligation outlined here are not identical, and a consistent pattern of rude, provocative, or disruptive conduct by a lawyer, even though unpunished as contempt, may constitute professional misconduct. Here's one more that I dug up for you. the lawyer and the administration of justice. And I found the first paragraph of commentary interesting, or some of it. And paragraph 1 says, the obligation outlined in the rule is not restricted to the lawyer's professional activities, but is a general responsibility resulting from the lawyer's position in the community. A lawyer's responsibilities are greater than those of a private citizen. A lawyer should take care not to weaken or destroy public confidence in legal institutions or authorities by irresponsible allegations. And I just found that last sentence really, or the first half of that sentence, really interesting. I'll say it again. A lawyer should take care not to weaken or destroy public confidence in legal institutions. Bull, yeah. If you'd like to know more about the Law Society of British Columbia, please visit their website. You can even fill out an online complaint right from the website. You can also do it by email, postal mail, or fax. Here's the information. And if you'd like to reach out to the Nanaimo Crown Counsel office, here's that information. And here is the person that I tried to reach out to find out how to make a conduct complaint. Her name is Jessica Patterson. Sorry to do spoiler alert, but spoiler alert, she refused to return my phone calls. She refused to communicate with me. I had to speak to her secretary and ask her secretary for her email so I could send her an email about this. And they said that there's a policy that they do not give out the emails of these lawyers, these prosecutors. So Jessica Patterson refused to speak with me and did not return any of my phone calls, and had her office obstruct me from emailing her, which I found out, of course, shortly after, that her email is public information. It's jessica.patterson@gov.bc.ca. How hard was that? So, knowing what I know about Jessica Patterson, she will not speak to you about this, and she does not want to hear about Nicholas Barber threatening to follow me home, intimidating a justice participant, contrary to the Criminal Code of Canada, under Section 139, subsection 2, obstructing justice. She does not want to speak to you about it, okay? And she will not return your calls, okay? So you may have a little bit more luck with the email. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe she doesn't work there anymore. Who knows? Sorry for the spoiler, but kind of had to do it. Just kind of had to get it out of the way, you know? So that'll be an interesting video down the road, let me tell you. Remember how I told you this gets worse? And you may want to reach out to the Western Communities Courthouse, because when I'm standing there saying, why is the prosecutor threatening to follow me home? You heard the prosecutor threaten to follow me home, right? And the response is, oh God, no. So when they know a prosecutor is committing a crime, what do? They shun me away. They don't respond. Oh God, no, no. So what if our prosecutors are committing crimes in our own courtrooms and court buildings? So what? Just go away, Dan. We're busy, okay? So you may want to inquire with the Western Communities Courthouse as to what happened. What actions did the staff take that were aware that Nicholas Barber threatened to follow me home on March 3rd, 2020? What did that staff do at that courthouse about this? You can also leave a Google review. I love Google reviews. And this was all witnessed by a sheriff. What did the sheriff do? Did he arrest Mr. Barber? No. He told me to take off and go for lunch. He said, oh, he didn't say he was going to follow you home. He said he might follow you home. So what did the BC sheriffs do about this? Did they report this to, the Attorney General? Anyways, if you want to say hi to the BC Sheriff Service, here's their Twitter account. They don't have a phone number and address. So who's responsible for all this? Well, it's the Attorney General of British Columbia, David Eby. Now, I would say you should contact the Attorney General of British Columbia, David Eby, but I already know that he doesn't look at his emails, and he doesn't respond to emails that, he hasn't even looked at. So, and I've called his office before, and I've said, hey, I need to speak to the Attorney General of British Columbia. And they said, no, you don't speak to the Attorney General of British Columbia. You send him an email. And I said, okay, I'll send him an email. So I sent him an email about, there's a 7-part series I have on YouTube about local prosecutors that were committing crimes and misleading judges in order to get easy wins, lying and committing crimes. It's kind of what the prosecutors should not be doing, and I caught them in the act. It's all on the record. I said, hey, David Eby, I got it all right. It's all on YouTube. You just watch it. And he never responded. So now this is ironic because David Eby, as you can see in the last sentence here, he's the author of the Arrest Handbook, A Guide to Your Rights, which is, I actually referenced that to the police that were arresting me that day. So it's kind of ironic, the guy that wrote the Arrest Handbook, the one that I referenced in my arrest, he's in charge of all the prosecutors, and he's in charge of all the police in British Columbia. And look at what they've done to me, and what's he going to do about it? Nothing, absolutely nothing. He won't even read. If you guys email him, he won't even read the email. You guys call his office, you'll never even speak to him. Here's the contact information. Here you go. Attorney General of British Columbia. Here's phone numbers, and so it doesn't actually show the email on this page, but thankfully there is a toll-free 1-800 number within Canada and USA there. And there's even an outside of Canada USA number there too. Wow, holy cow. So there you go. Attorney General of British Columbia is responsible for all the prosecutors and all the police, including RCMP. Now, if you do file any complaints or communications, I strongly recommend that you document that, either by recording phone calls or screen capping, emails or whatever, responses, posts on their Twitter, on their Facebook, whatever. Could be deleted. And if you do have any videos or audio recordings or anything, if you have a YouTube channel, if you could put that on YouTube, that would be amazing. So the trial goes on in part 22. Or does it? What happens when we all return to court later that day after the afternoon break? Well, you're going to find out next time on Documenting and Exposing West Shore RCMP.